AV Shop Talk, Episode 1.
Podcasting from Boston, Massachusetts and Los Angeles, California, this is AV Shop Talk. Covering the latest audiovisual trends and emerging technologies, this is where the AV pros come to talk shop. With your hosts, Nate Schneider and Jason Griffin.
Welcome to AV Shop Talk. My name is Nate, and I'm here with Jason. How you doing over there, Jason?
I'm good, Nate. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Excited to be getting to the first episode here of AV Shop Talk.
Yeah, very exciting indeed.
Yep, and that voice you just heard introducing us. Got to give a shout out, special thanks to John from johnsoldtruck.com for doing that professional sounding voiceover. And the music you heard was from a local independent musician in the Boston area. His name is Colin Owens, so got to give a shout out to him for providing the awesome tracks for us to use as theme music here in the AV Shop Talk podcast. But in this episode, we really want to get to, what the podcast is going to be all about and why you might want to listen to it. So, Jason, what type of people do you think would benefit from listening to AV Shop Talk?
Yeah, I think it's important to define that in this episode, what we hope to accomplish with AV Shop Talk and why people should care, right? It's important to define that. I think that the people that are going to benefit the most from this show are obviously industry pros. That's who we're targeting. That's who we want to talk to. That's who we want to help entertain and, of course, educate. And I think there's all kinds of different people that can benefit from it. We're hoping, of course, small to medium business owners, even large business owners, right? Integrators, programmers, people that are new to the industry maybe and looking to kind of figure out, get a pulse on things and sort of what's important, what people are talking about. So I'm curious to get your take, but yeah, I think the possibilities are pretty wide open. Yeah,
I mean, I think one of the things I value is definitely diving deeper into the technology. And, I think one of the things we want to do is have people on the show that can give, some unique insight as to, what's going on with some of these emerging technologies, like audio-video bridging, HD-based T. We've got some interviews already recorded that are be coming up in future episodes. So things along those lines, and it'd be really cool to get some of these other manufacturers on board and talk with maybe some of the engineers or someone from software development. Those types of people that can give kind of unique insight as to what's going on and what they value when they're developing new products that help integrators on the commercial side and residential side.
Yeah, and I think that kind of ties into why we chose to call it AV Shop Talk, right? Because what we want to do is not, just another news podcast. That there's a lot of people out there doing that already and doing it well. We want to jump in more deeply to particular topics every week and get people involved with the podcast who are, directly involved in developing these technologies, so that they can come on and let us know what they've got going on, what they're working on, and maybe even get to know a little bit more about them on a personal level too, because I think that's interesting. We got a lot of different types of people and people from different backgrounds in this industry, and it's good to get a different perspective and not just know people from press releases and tweets, but actually we want to bring them on and talk to them and find out what makes them tick and hopefully have a chance also to let them know what's important to integrators and what we deal with in our day-to-day lives. So I think AV Shop Talk will be a good opportunity for us to do that.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about podcasting too. I mean, it's very personal. When you sit down and have a 25, 30-minute conversation with somebody, you get to know them a little bit, you hear where they're coming from, and you can kind of get the inside scoop. Now, when I first started in commercial integration in 2007, my eyes were open to these things called lunch and learns, and and so
the lunch and learn.
So at lunch and learn, you'd have like a company come in, a manufacturer, like a projector company, a display company. Right. They'd come in, they'd buy the engineering team or the sales team or both lunch, and during lunch they do like a little PowerPoint presentation to show their latest and greatest product, or what they've got coming out, or what's going to ship next month, and I always thought that was a really cool way to see, keep your your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. And so some of those can be, kind of sales oriented, but I feel like this podcast is going to have a little bit of that lunch and learn flavor, but more on the technical side of things, more on the educational side.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would agree that we're going to, try to avoid making every week into a sales pitch for a certain product, right? Like we don't want to do that with this podcast.
Yeah. We're doing this because we love what we do. I mean, we're passionate about
but with that
technology.
said, I do think that there's also a danger in dismissing, those lunch and learns, like even the ones that are super salesy. I mean, you can always take something away from it. Yeah. So like you said, it's a great way to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, what's being developed, what the new technologies are.
I mean, at least you could steal a slice of cheese pizza, with the lunch and learn. I mean, the people listening to this podcast are not going to get a free slice of pizza. I can promise you that.
No, that is very true. So,
but if you mention us on Twitter, we will respond. I can tell you that.
We will absolutely get to that. But anyways, yeah. So I think we've got a good direction that we're trying to go with the podcast, and obviously we hope people tune in and enjoy it and are entertained and, of course, educated by AV Shop Talk.
Right. So I think one of the things we want to do is also introduce our audience to who we are. So, Jason, would you mind kind of giving us a little background about, where you're coming from, what part of the industry do you work in, and maybe how you got there? Yeah,
I'll try to give you the quick version. I think like a lot of people in our industry that I talk to, it's I went to school actually for recording engineering, and I know quite a few people who have that same background. Got out of school, kind of realized that the recording industry was really sort of imploding under the weight of the new digital music models and everything that were cutting edge at the time, right? So I started looking at different ways that I could still satisfy my desire to work with tech and work in audiovisual. And I ended up working at a live sound company that did setting up of audio video systems for conferences and conventions. And at the time, I was working in downtown Denver. And so we were the resident AV company at a hotel down there, large hotel right next to the convention center, and got to work on some pretty cool projects, and ended up transferring from that property up to one up in the mountains, up in the Vail Valley in Colorado, and worked up there doing the same thing for a while, but eventually got a little bit tired of the crazy hours and just the sort of flow. It's working in live sound, as anyone listening who may have worked or still does work in a similar environment. It's a lot of, sitting around for periods of time and then interrupted by just insanity.
You mean you didn't enjoy the 4 a.m. load-ins and then having the whole day off and then coming back at 7 p.m. to finish the show and load the truck up?
It just wore me down after a while. So I ended up finding a company online, just sort of searching around, that was doing residential integration up in the Vail Valley. And they were looking for somebody with experience. I emailed them and said, I have none, but here's what I do have. And they gave me a chance, and I jumped into the residential integration side of the business and never looked back. So eventually transferred out here to Los Angeles when work got a little bit slow up in the Vail Valley, when the housing slowdown really took hold. And now I'm out here in Los Angeles and have been with a couple of companies, but I'm currently employed as a project manager at Via Home, which is a large multi-state home technology firm. So do a lot of directing traffic these days, not out in the field quite as much, but still very hands-on with my product, or with my projects rather, and with the technology.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of the the real quick rundown. I know you come from a little bit of a different background. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, before we get to me, I think one of the coolest things about what you do is the part of the country you're in. So you're in Los Angeles doing high-end home automation. So just to connect the dots, you're working on celebrities' home theaters. So I mean, I know you can't really mention a lot of the names because you don't want to violate any non-disclosures, but Jason is on site with some pretty high-profile job sites and home theaters.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a pretty cool area to be working in residential, just for that very reason, because we get to work on some of the biggest, most cutting-edge projects around there, and obviously the bigger projects can be tremendously challenging in their own right, and there's a certain level of expectation that comes from our clients that is associated with the price tag of some of the systems that we work on. But we understand that we're able to execute at that level and bring the jobs in. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to work on some of these projects, and I don't always get to interact directly with maybe the celebrity or famous homeowner. A lot of times they've got assistants or house managers and things of that nature.
Oh no, you gotta play it up. You gotta say you're the guy that talks to the celebrities. They choose you because you're so good.
Yeah, no, a lot of times I am. It's definitely not unheard of, and I actually spent a lot of time as a programmer when I first moved out here, and that was actually one of the things as a programmer that I really enjoyed, because as all the programmers out there know, you're usually the last guy at the job, and you usually get a chance to really get to know the clients, I think probably better than almost anyone involved in the job, with the exception of maybe sales. Project manager, as a project manager, I do get to know our clients fairly well, but I found, just for whatever reason, it's interesting, just as a programmer, I typically spent more time in their homes with them and got to know some really cool people, and I have some really cool stories and just not ones that I can share on the podcast, unfortunately.
Oh man, so you're not going to have any celebrity guests on the podcast?
No, probably not, but we'll see.
All right, well, I think I'm going to try to get you to work on that. We'll see who we can get on.
I'll see what I can drum up. Yeah, so anyway, you're right though. It's a great market to be in, and it's tremendously challenging at times, but I do enjoy it. I get a lot of satisfaction out of my work. I'm passionate about AV. Part of the main reason that I'm here with you right now is just, this is what I love. This is what I've chosen to do as a career, and so I'm all in.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that caught my eye. I mean, you've got this blog that you do called Integrators Academy, and I kind of was doing the whole YouTube thing. I still am. I have like a how-to YouTube channel, and so I think that's kind of, I saw you doing this Integrators Academy thing, and I think we had a lot in common. And so now here we are doing a podcast together.
I think it's great to have that outlet, to be able to do something for work that you enjoy enough to come home and still want to devote, what's left of your brain power for that day, to writing or talking or just even thinking about the industry and what we can do to improve it, and how we can help others who are wanting to get into the industry or who are already in it but want to improve their skills. And that's what I eventually hope to be doing with Integrators Academy. It's a project that I'm passionate about. It's a solo operation right now, so it's taking a little bit of time to get it going, but I'm really proud of what's up there, and I would love some of the feedback I've gotten, and would love people to stop by and take a look at it.
Yeah. Right, but only after you go to AVShopTalk.com. You got to go there first.
Exactly. Right? That's your one-stop shop there.
Exactly. All right. Well,
right direction.
Yep. Well, let me give you guys a little background about what I do. So currently, I'm an AV designer for a company called ImageStream Medical, and this is kind of a new thing for me. I went from a video conferencing company to a company that specializes in integrated operating rooms. So it's kind of a new vertical, or a niche, if you will.
Yeah.
That's the buzzword. But all we do is focus on serving hospitals and doctors and clinicians and nurses and providing elegant multimedia image management solutions in the OR. And I tell you what, I've been there almost a year now, and I am learning more than I ever have about AV. And there's just some really talented folks on the team in the design department that I'm learning a lot from. And
I'm sure
it's a great place for me to develop and grow as a designer. And
definitely
that's kind of what I'm doing as my day job. And I think I mentioned before, on nights and weekends, I have a YouTube channel that I create videos for, and that's kind of a fun. It's more of a creative outlet for me to come up with something. I kind of fell in love with video editing, similar to you, Jason. I went to school for sound recording technology at UMass Lowell, and it's by the time I was graduating my senior year, I realized the same thing you did. The recording industry was not doing very well, so the chances of me getting a job were pretty slim. I mean, you can do it, but you have to really want to live in a recording studio.
Yeah. I have some friends out here who are in that scene, and they're just the most dedicated. The ones who make it are just incredibly dedicated to that. That career. And
if you want to have like a 9-to-5 or a girlfriend or family, it's tough. It's tough to do that.
Extremely tough.
So that's how I made my way into the commercial integration side of things, and a lot of that knowledge I had from the recording studio side of things did transfer over into the signal flow world. Luckily for me, I had taken some design technology classes, so I was familiar with AutoCAD. So that was kind of a natural progression for me to, move from an installation technician to a drafting technician. And the whole time I'm volunteering at my church doing live sound. So I've done that for probably 15 years now. We're close to it, somewhere between 10 and 15 years. Doing live sound, as a volunteer. I've done I've done the stagehand thing before, doing setting up at the Tweeter Center, or I think it's called the Comcast Center now. It used to be called formerly Great Woods, but it's the big amphitheater near Boston.
Yeah.
So that was
a diverse background. I think it's cool. It's something that we can explore further on the podcast. I think is just the wide variety of different career paths and, like you said, verticals that you can get into. If you're wanting to get into the world of working in audiovisual, there's so many different avenues that you can go to pursue it. So it's interesting to hear, the path that you've taken. And, we've been talking a lot, but you and I haven't really sat down. I'm super curious to hear more about your work and what you guys do and the service you provide. And we don't necessarily have to get into that right now, but maybe in a future episode, because I think it's really interesting and it's super specialized.
And it's a booming industry. I mean, all the hospitals want the best. Like the doctors, the surgeons, they want the best multimedia technology. And in the last 2 to 5 years, it's really started to blow up. And there's not a lot of people oriented to serve that community right now. So anyway, the company I'm at right now, it's a really fun and exciting company to be at right now. And so I'm glad I have that opportunity. Definitely like to maybe we can get into that more in a future episode.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. I think for now we've kind of let people know what AV Shop Talk is going to be about. Was there anything else you kind of wanted to cover in this episode, Nate?
No, I mean just that one of the things I think we both value is putting information out there for beginners. People that are just starting a career in the AV industry. I think sometimes it's tough to find a mentor, somebody that will invest in you and show you the ropes. And obviously having somebody that you work with every day that can invest in you and train you and get you to another level, that's the ideal situation, but it's not always reality. So maybe think about turning to a podcast or listening to what we're having conversations about here. I think this could be a tool for some newbies that are coming up in the AV industry.
Yeah, I think for newbies and experts alike, but I do think you're hitting the nail on the head. There's just not a lot of traditional sort of schooling and things of that nature that you can go to if you really want to get into like the systems integration business or like what you're doing, for instance. So it's about learning who the players are and learning who the people are out there and what's coming down the pike with technology. And I think that's really what we hope to accomplish with AV Shop Talk, is not just cover the latest news, but to, give you a beat on the industry and what people are talking about and thinking about and the new technologies as well. So we're definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, yeah, I think if that's it, then, we can go ahead and wrap this episode up. And we want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen. We are looking forward to, exploring the podcast further and having you come along for the ride. Be sure to tune in for our next episode where we interview Mika Riesling from the HD Base T Alliance. We're going to talk HD Base T. We're going to cover HD Base T 2.0, which is an exciting new technology and a new development for HD Base T, at least at the time we did the interview it was. It's been a couple of months now. But yeah, for more, be sure to check out the show notes at avshoptalk.com. Follow us on Twitter at AVShopTalk. And this is where the pros come to talk shop.
AV Shop Talk is produced independently by Nate Schneider and Jason Griffin, with musical contributions from Colin Owens. His latest album, Trinity, was released in December of 2013. Voiceover talent came from John Perry. When he's not behind a microphone, he's working on the truck. See what he's been up to at johnsoldtruck.com.
AV Shop Talk.